opinion. Well, if they have the right to their own opinion, then I have the right to laugh at it.
So, all right, how should we think about the problem? We have someone saying that we're thinking about this problem wrong, and
Hey man, did you read my paper?
The paper on the warp drive.
It's on gravity, on how to I derived time dilation and length contraction from quantum electrodynamics without general relativity.
Post it in the private chat. Why don't we bring that up and talk about that? I'd like to see. Does anybody here who have a college degree and real science and engineering understanding have an argument in favor of showing that we can, that I mean, we made some pretty solid arguments against it. I mean, this guy's not an obvious shill. I mean, Todd's someone I know in real life, dude. I don't know who I don't know who a lot of you people are.
I don't know how to upload on the private chat.
But Todd's worked with like Hal Puthoff and Bernard Haish and all these guys. So
I didn't work with them. I chatted with them for years. I've known them for like 20 some years.
Right.
Never really worked with them, but
with them.
we worked on the same topics. Like Hal and I both came up with this polarizable vacuum model independently. And then he found out about me. I found out about him. We chatted. Over the years, he kind of stopped working on it. He did a bunch of presentations, did his metric engineering paper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I find that the polarizable vacuum model is still talking about the vacuum and what, if we could do this and this to the vacuum, we could create gravity or warp drive. But really, what I've come down to and what my latest paper shows in explicit detail is that gravity isn't interacting with the vacuum so much as gravity is what is interacting with matter. The gravitational field interacts with matter, resulting in geodesic motion and free fall. If it weren't for some interaction, then why should it follow a geodesic? I mean, everybody has this notion, because general relativity is space-time curvature, is that that's the only way to look at it. But it's not. And what the polarizable vacuum model showed is that variable rulers and clocks that change scale and crystals that change orientation depending on where they are, these are the tools we use. Rulers and clocks are the tools we use to measure space and time. So on one hand, the yin is we have curved space-time, and on the other hand, we have variable rulers and clocks. Both are interchangeable. They're two different interpretations of the same thing. But trying to quantize empty space, in my opinion, is just ridiculous. Whereas quantized matter already exists, and I just showed how to pull gravity out of it. And that's where it matters. And this is what we have to work with. If we want to have a warp drive, we need to tell the matter which way to move, not the space which way to curve. Anyway, I don't know how to upload to here, Jeremy.
There's a private chat over on the right, or you can email me back in that email I just sent. You could just send it back in that email, and I'll check. I can find it there. Either way works for me. I talked to David Chester today. I think he's going to come on tomorrow as well to do a sort of physics primer class where we're going to go over a lot of the just some history of physics and really tie into free energy and some of these other topics like that Ashton's been talking about, including all the Tom Bearden stuff, and really address all the Tom Bearden claims, because Dave Chester went through great personal expense to dig through all that stuff and come up with a very thorough examination, which was aimed at like academics, showing academics that, yeah, a lot of this stuff's been debunked, but there may be a couple things here, that do relate to some real, exotic physics that are is legitimate, and a lot of this stuff could be connected to the research that, we've been covering and we've been, uncovering on this channel. So I'm looking forward to that discussion, as well as the discussion, you know, with I don't know. I'm trying to get Sal Pays to come on Friday and stuff, but he's basically, I've heard back that he's been warned, like he no more podcasts or public appearances, or he's going to get like fired from his job, and like so I don't know if that's
Very
going to
sensitive about it.
it's pretty sensitive, the stuff that they're working on and stuff. So um and they've already let a lot of more information out than they should have, I feel. So but yeah, let's I don't have, yeah, anybody has a compelling evidence, or like information on how they seeded the hurricane, how they manipulated either one of these hurricanes, so I want to talk about you know there's some differences, some interesting coincidences, of course. You're in North Carolina, Todd, right?
Yeah.
You're further inland, right? Than this. Do you know about this whole King Mountain?
Oh yeah, it's just right around the corner from me.
King Mountain. I mean, that was what was it all flooded out, and like,
Oh yeah, well, the whole town of Chimney Rock is gone.
right?
Yeah, Asheville is flooded out. They lost for a couple days. You couldn't get in or out of the town. Then they got it cleaned out on the south side first, and then the Interstate 40 was closed down because it was just mud for as far as the eye could see. And they had they got the snow plows basically, or the scoopers out, and cleared the highway now. But it's just every day I hear helicopters flying over the house, bringing supplies out to the mountains, and they're still finding people coming out of the woods.
That's crazy. So like thousands dead, and
I don't know about thousands dead, maybe a
no,
couple hundred.
couple hundreds. But I've heard
Around here they've said there was like 160 so far that last time I heard.
you heard about the rumors about the lithium deposits in the hills out there.
There is currently a proposal for a lithium mine in North Carolina. I don't know where exactly it is, but it's right now it's being held up by environmental concerns, but it has nothing to do with the rumors that were started that they're trying to take the land. That's not true.
Yeah, Piedmont Lithium had some contracts with that area, and a couple months ago, and there's like this whole conspiracy that they're trying to take they're trying to take the land, and for the lithium, and that they engineered the hurricane in order to take
it literally dropped 4 trillion gallons of rain in a day.
Yeah.
My backyard, I wouldn't buy a house in a flood zone, but I'm like on top of a hill. I could have got landlocked, but I didn't. But my backyard was like, it was like a good 6-7 inches deep. It was up to the bottom edge of my solar panels. And that's pretty deep because I could usually fit a lawnmower through there, so it got pretty deep Thursday, Friday. And then it stopped. The wind was still there, but the rain stopped. But it parked itself over the mountains, and like it squeezed itself, squeezed out all the rain, and down it went. This hydrogen buddy here, look, seeding clouds has been around since, God, who knows, 1950s. That's one thing.
Popeye,
but that's not the size of a hurricane. You're talking about seeding something that's million square miles. No, we don't have that technology yet.
Bless me. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's I don't think it's the energetic scale. I mean, is there documentation that shows that they did it? And because he's saying that they did it on this hurricane in against Cuba in the
Show me the
1960s.
proof. Show me the
Yeah,
proof.
where the
Show me the evidence. I don't.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just say, hey, I want to see it. Like, please.
I am not one to take anyone's word for nothing. I want to see the paper. I want to read the paper. I want to see the facts for myself.
Let's see if he actually. I don't. I'm trying to see if there's like a part in this where he shows like documents and really gets into this. Yeah, there's a whole thing with that the Judy Wood people who think that they have space lasers that can disintegrate entire buildings and that they use free energy, yet the energy that they use can come from hurricanes too, and they can suck the energy from hurricane. It's very unclear and
We probably do have space lasers, but
yeah, but we do have some kinds of. Let's talk about DEWs.
But I don't have any proof of that. I don't have any evidence of that. I just know that it's not that hard to do. That's not an impossible thing.
Yeah, people have. They already mentioned her a whole bunch of times before this, but I've been trying to ignore it so far. Yeah. Who's counter intel, man? Todd?
He sells solar panels, man.
Todd sells solar panels. He's like an engineer, dude. I'm like,
I sell DIY kits. So if you want to install your own solar panels, get in touch with me. I'll give you the best.
I disagree with Todd on a lot of stuff too. So I'm getting people on to offer some skeptical feedback on this, and I'd like to hear from other people in the group. I put out I put out a link right here. I got a couple people saying, "No,
I'm very progressive." I'm very progressive. For me, I'm not liberal as much as I'm like, I want progress. I want Star Trek to be the future, not Mad Max.
I keep trying to find these PDF dossiers. They were all in like the Weather Wars because I looked up these guys and it comes up as like this whole thing with the PDF and I can't find the PDF. So here he's showing documents and stuff. I want to see the documents on all this stuff. I really want to like see the government FOIA requests and the responses from the government showing, we've already seen this stuff. This General Electric Project Storm Fury. Okay, what's that? Tropical cyclones seeding them with silver iodide. Okay,
silver.
Yeah. Right. So the silver iodide, as you mentioned, this will change that surface layer to make the clouds more absorptive to that main source of energy that they're getting, which is the sun. So is it possible that even if we had planes, if we had, you said it went from a category 4 to a 5 in a matter of a few hours. So even if you had a dozen planes spraying silver iodide into that hurricane for hours, would that be enough to do this?
No, those planes couldn't even cover 1% of it.
Yeah, you need like, how many planes do you think you'd need?
And then it says right here in the 4th sentence, it was determined that most hurricanes do not contain enough supercooled water for cloud seeding to be effective.
Well, I'm not trying to debunk the crap. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it, and if it's and get a more realistic scientific understanding of
what to get to the bottom of it. It's
make a stronger.
We're a month from an election, and everybody is trying to blame the government for something that the government has nothing to do with. That's
I think
That's the
that's a good synopsis, and also it works well because it denies the fact that there's man-made global warming, and that global warming has more to do with these crazy nasty hurricanes than probably any of this stuff, right?
months and months of temperatures above normal warm the ocean. You can't do that in a matter of hours.
And the solar flares too. I think there's some heightened solar activity these past
Pumps
couple of
energy into the atmosphere. Yeah.
yeah, that will do it too. That's like we said, that's the model. That's your storm model for the hurricane.
As I said, I just read a paper last week that we've already passed 1.5 degrees. We are no longer heading toward a climate crisis. We're in it.
Hey, you know how you can tell people aren't feds? They allow comments on their videos, and they don't ban people like this. That's how you tell who's a fed or not. All the feds won't even allow comments, dude. So, anyways, yeah, everyone who watches this channel knows we're not feds. I knows I'm not a fed. I don't. They're not so sure about you, Todd, though. So.
Oh, well, here, look at the sign behind me.
Yeah. Oh, this is great because
read my paper that I uploaded. Show them the paper. Read that. You'll know all about me. That's what I do. I spent a month and a half just researching that paper to do like 5 pages, not even 4 pages.
I don't care what people are suspicious.
I'm an engineer. I've been an engineer for 40 years. I'm 63. I have nothing to do with the government.
Hey, look. All right, you're suspicious of me, but not Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones, who've been known to spread some pretty bad misinformation and bad theories in the past. So, I like to stick with my track record. I've made some pretty accurate predictions on a lot of this conspiracy stuff, and I think I've been pretty right on for the most part. Maybe I'm off with a few things, but I'd love to hear other perspectives, and I'm always looking to open my mind to new evidence and information. But let's continue through the evidence and information, right? Shall we? Because this is what I'm about.
Complex,
I'm going to drop off
electromagnetic field array.
All right, you got to go back to the work at the Pentagon. I understand it's been a late, long day. So
the president just called. All right, take care, man.
Later, Todd. Yeah, man, not making those big bucks yet. Maybe if I spread more, if I shill harder.
For particle fusion, confinement in yield larger elements, that gets into weather control, propagating sound through bodies of water to generate and direct wind, the purposes of moderating the affected weather patterns. That's again the federal government.
As the government has complete control.
CIA.gov, worldwide countries likely to expand weather modification efforts. Huge links to huge studies right here. Weather modification, current intelligence weekly summary, survey on weather modification, R&D program planning guidance on government operations of weather control, analytical summary, possible environmental restraints, environmental warfare. And what do you think we're under right now? This is like 20 pages long. Let me keep reading. Number 7, Central Intelligence Bulletin on the Russians using weather weapons, weather modification, the Weather Services, Environmental Science Services Administration, weekly surveyor, international aspects of weather modification. Let me keep reading all this to you. Climate geoengineering, a growing foreign policy and public perceptions challenge, but currently a low tech.
Oh, I don't want to see that. I want to see, some scientific reports and some actual, hard data on, what they did, how much they sprayed, how long they had to spray, and what the results were versus, other things. And then how do they steer the hurricane, So someone showed this one video. I remember there was one video I saw where the hurricane's literally like steering back and forth and riding this weird trajectory, and they're trying to show that it's actually being steered. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yeah, I know the cloud seeding's real, but we've also had the hottest summer and on record. It's been some of the hottest temperatures. So got to consider it's just hurricane season with some hot temperatures. And do we really have that level of control? I mean, the things that we could throw at this, yeah, the fans, even if we powered giant turbines, they're not going to pump enough energy into a hurricane to affect it. It's thousands of square miles. He's a messenger, not a scientist. So you're a messenger too. You guys are pro this stuff. So let's go find this stuff. I have, tons of hands out here who are all for this. And no, Todd's the man, dude. Todd knows a lot of stuff. In fact, I'm gonna have Todd on to go over his quantum gravity stuff, his gravity paper, his warp drive stuff. Todd's been an instrumental part of our engineering team. He's not full of shit, dude. Alex Jones has been more full of shit with a lot of stuff that he's covered. Sad to say, he's been right about a lot of stuff. Alex Jones has been, ahead of the curve on a lot of things, but I'm just not buying all this stuff just yet, man. And as far as the capabilities go of these, directed energy weapons, and then the HARP, and then the steerable trajectory beams and all that stuff, yeah, he's not fed, dude. He's just a skeptic. There's nothing wrong with that, dude. And I'm a skeptic too. I'm in the middle, man. I'm just trying to, I understand. Yeah, we get these storm seeding. You can ignoring the evidence. So you don't start a storm with seeding. You pump a storm with seeding. Why are you ignoring the evidence? Check Denver Post Winter Park seeding article. Yeah, okay, I'll look that up for you for the $5 super chat. Let's see, Denver Post Winter Park seeding article. Oh, this Colorado cloud seeding program aims to make good snowstorms better. Oh, so the silver iodine flares on this Piper Aztec aircraft on July 20th, 1976. Colorado's weather modification program launched in the 1970s, according to this article. Interesting. Yeah. This is they can modify the storms to agree. This is fine for a cumulonimbus cloud that's going to be a snowstorm or a thunderhead type of cloud. But let's do a realistic calculation. I mean, Todd said it was outrageous to seed a hurricane, right? So maybe we could figure out how big a hurricane needs to be. Well, let's see. Let me just. I thought I was sharing the screen. Let me share this one instead. So here we have, the Gulf of Mexico, and why don't we go to Flight Radar 24.com too, so we can we'll accept all your cookies. So let's just look here. Planes. So if you had like 100 planes, these are obviously not the right size ratio. Planes are much smaller than this. But just imagine you had 25 or 100 planes spraying the silver iodide into your cloud base, into a hurricane. Would that be enough? That's a good question. I would like to see some actual data on that, because I can't just say qualitatively, oh, that's just ridiculous. It's way too big. It's like, it's like throwing, is it like throwing stones at Goliath, like say that Goliath's too big and the stone's too small, but hey, that's what ended up taking him out. Does it work? Do you need, and you don't need any plane today. Okay, so how do you do it, Miss Ashy? I'm really curious. I just want to know. Look us up on weather warfare treaties. You won't. I will. I'll look up all this stuff. I'm not a shill. I don't work for the government. I'm not a Fed. I just want truth and, legitimate information. So if you got it, show me. Amplified Leonard inside of the storms. It's quantum sorcery technology. Oh, okay. Where's the papers on that? I've been to a lot of, Leonard conferences at MIT and covered the big one in 2014 for ICCF 2014. I don't remember any papers on LENR inside hurricanes, but please direct me to a scientist's name, a study that I can look up. I'd be happy to check that out. Hey, thanks, guys. Just I really want to dig into this one and get that proof from Marjorie Taylor Greene so that she can prosecute and pursue these. Yeah, I think RFK wants to know the who's behind all this. If in the chemtrailing, if they do this cloud seeding and this chemtrailing stuff, that's illegal. It's a crime. I agree that if this is taking place, it is a crime. It's already been banned in New Hampshire and Tennessee. They're not allowed to chemtrail and spray silver iodide into clouds and stuff in Tennessee or New Hampshire. But yeah, I would love to see the actual studies on this. If anyone, we're going to have to, do come back and do a real deep dive. I was hoping that we get some more people who are experts in this chemtrail stuff. I got hydrogen fuel technologies and also Ashy in here. On the conspiracy side, I'm trying to get both sides of this equation and just really dig in and stick with the science. But hey, let's I guess we'll yeah, we covered the lithium mining and the whole thing with the deposits there. That's what people think happened. But I'd like to open it up. If anyone wants to join, they can join. But let's switch gears now, seeing as it's getting to be about over an hour and we're in the second half now. So I'd like to switch gears, and I posted a reply this morning. We were on the stream last night with Ashton Forbes. Of course, yesterday, Ashton Forbes was on Candace Owens. Candace Owens is one of the top 10 podcasts in America currently. This is the one from 4 hours ago that she posted. The last one she posted was Ashton Forbes. 2 days, actually, it was 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, this one aired. It's gotten 613,000 views from 2 days ago, over 5,000 comments. So this one's like totally blown up on there. He did a live stream the other night, was saying some, nice things about, our channel and the science that we've put on. And then we started getting a little bit of an argument over some of the free energy physics and some of the stuff that Ashton's been, been digging into and stuff. So he's live right now talking about some science and stuff. That's great. I think Ashton is great. He's on the right path, looking into the science, trying to dig into the science, but he's not, doesn't really understand the physics, hasn't really taken the time to learn the physics, or appreciate a lot of the physics yet, I don't believe. He's a little bit argumentative when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I don't think he's in a good place to do that. So he was saying some things about David Chester, because David Chester was involved in some of the emails back and forth between Jack Sarfati, and Jack Sarfati and David Chester had some arguments in there, and they had some arguments back and forth, that Ashton was kind of talking about David Chester in a different way, and I'm like, he's saying some stuff about David Chester, so I texted David Chester. I was like, hey, Ashton's on with a couple, a lot of people watching him, saying some stuff about you. I don't know if you wanted to address this. So I told him, hey, Dave Chester's here if you want to say anything to him. And so David said, I have 8 questions for you that I need you to address. And so he, asked these 8 questions live on air last night, and Dave Chester took the time, didn't have a time to respond right away, but within 24 hours, Dave Chester wrote back, this whole answer to Ashton Forbes regarding the 8 questions. So I figured, why don't we dive into this and read it, because it's we're really trying to educate this whole community on the physics and stuff, man. He was on Candace Owens' podcast. He's on some big podcasts and stuff, and getting a lot of attention talking about the physics and the science. And I just want to make sure that when the physicists and the academic people see this stuff and they look at it, they don't roll their eyes in their heads, and they're actually like, oh, wow, this is legit science, and there's legit physics here, and there's actually something here. So that's where I come in to try to help with the whole equations, because physics is stuck, physics is broken. Everyone agrees that. I knew physics was messed up back at the Bogdanov twins, but people are just realizing it now with the recent Nobel Prize announcement in physics going to this AI nonsense. Nobel Prize Physics 2024. It's not physics, and everyone's complaining. How come the Nobel Prize in physics? This could have been assigned for chemistry. It could have been assigned for, a lot of other prizes. But why does this thing get the Nobel Prize in physics? And there's just people who've just given up. They're like, physics is dead. I don't know where we're at. I don't know what's going on. That's what Eric Weinstein said. When I asked him, he said he doesn't know he doesn't know what's going on in physics anymore. So we know that there was some recent stuff came out. A letter came out where Richard Feynman actually apologized to Ken Shoulders. Which is very rare to have Richard Feynman do that, but he definitely looked deeper into Kenneth Shoulders' work and apologized to Ken Shoulders. And Ken was one of the mavericks in all this. We know that everyone's trying to chase this sort of dragon's tail. We all are disagreeing over the method to do that and who's going to get the credit for it at the end, I guess. But I think that between all of us, the Jack Sarfati's out there, the Sal Paises out there, the Eric Weinstein's out there, the Deep Prasad, all these different people talking about this, and we're all on the same path. We all have the same goal. We just can't agree on, what's the best way to do it and how's the best way to get there. And, that's part of why we created the APEC conference, the Alt Propulsion Conference, to get these people together to bring these ideas together and see where we can take physics. And, my whole mission with the Alien Scientist has been to document a lot of these weird alien science topics that are, science that's fringe, science that was blacklisted or thrown out of the mainstream and was, considered too bizarre or obscure, or a little bit too weird at the time to be taken seriously, but that still, went under the scenes and was still legitimate science and came back to emerge, like the cold fusion stuff, like the Ken Shoulders work with the EVOs and all this kind of stuff. So I think that Ashton is a little hot-headed. He was obviously on a high from being on Candace Owens and having that whole that whole thing. But to say that David Chester doesn't know physics, or that more or better, more physics, or better than a guy like David Chester after only being into this maybe a year tops, is a disservice to the field of physics and science in general. And that's why I apologize for calling people Neanderthals, but it felt like something out of the movie Idiocracy last night when when it was on Ashton Forbes there. Just literally everybody yelling at us that that we're idiots, and we don't know physics, we don't know, we're blocking disclosure, that we're shills, and that Ashton's bringing out the real free energy technology. And I'm just like, well, dude, I've seen a lot of free energy nonsense, including a lot of the videos that Ashton had played when he was talking about the free energy stuff. And then I was curious that maybe he was onto something legit, because he said, hey, we're working with Sal Pays, the U.S. Navy patents guy, and also Dave Rossi, who's called, he's known, was involved with some of these guys. So I thought that those guys seemed like they could be legit, and they're talking about some interesting, physics and stuff that could be legit. And then we got in a fight over Ken Wheeler, who's not Ken Shoulders. Ken Wheeler is another guy. He's really discredited himself a lot with his approach to the physics and all that. But anyways, I won't get into all of that, because there was a lot of name calling, a lot of nonsense last night, and really, realistically, we should argue the physics, and we shouldn't be going to that childish kind of stuff, calling people names. That was wrong of me to call people Neanderthals. And it was wrong for Ashton to call people shills, because we're arguing on the other side against some of these things from a physics standpoint. And believe me, that's from the best intentions, I think, on both sides. We don't want to see people get scammed, and we want to make sure they have the proper education on these things. Time-tested physics, battle-tested science. And Ashton wants desperately to break free of, and I agree with him. I want to break free too. I want free energy. I think that, if we put the funding into cold fusion and some of these other scientists' research, that we'd have a faster path there than the current paths we're taking, which I think are dead ends. But anyways, let's read David Chester answers Ashton's 8 physics questions. Dear Ashton, as you may come to realize, we should be on the same team. I've been carefully studying aspects of Bearden's claims for some time. I am hopeful that something nice can work out, but Bearden largely failed at convincing peers. By peers, I mean scientists and engineers. He was not convincing because of technical details and slight historical inaccuracies. He often would sort of be onto something, yet not explain it precisely correct. You have a platform communicating with the public, and I'm trying to work on communicating with scientists to change the perception of the reality to benefit humanity. Presumably, we have the same goals. I think you want to see improvements with things such as the claims from Bearden getting brought to the world. Since I am trying to convince skeptical scientists, many lay people are quick to assume that I am trying to tear down Bearden, but that's not the case. The physics is extremely subtle, so I believe great care is required when communicating these ideas amongst scientists, like to professors and to, serious academics. So if you discuss parity violation of the weak force and claim it relates to electrodynamics, I'm going to ask you why you think that is. And as I don't understand it to be a true statement, it appears as if you are assuming Tom Bearden is 100% correct. From my perspective, this opinion does not advance the discussion amongst scientists who understand CP violation in the standard model, because it makes it appear as if Tom Bearden has no idea what he's talking about. So I'm trying to empower you with a more precise ideas and more precise physics so that you can say something fresh that has a better chance of holding up with scientific skeptics, right? Not trying to sabotage your ideas, but just trying to show you where the scientists are going to shoot them down so that you can be educated and prepared for that. So you can assume that, you can assume that Dave Chester is attacking you like Jack, right? Jack's definitely on the attack, right? And you can bash him on your platform, and that's fine with me. I can take the heat, but I don't think that's a pragmatic move. I don't think it is either, Ashton. I mean, especially the way you reacted, man. Dave definitely knows physics more than me and you. I strongly believe in the support of free will and the expression of free speech. I did not share this with everyone because Jack and his posse doesn't need to hear everything. I'll give a shot at answering your 8 questions, which I've copied in bold below. Here are some additional physics questions for the experts. Where does energy come from? How does an AC generator produce energy? Okay, so that's Ashton's first question. Energy might not come from anywhere. It is conserved, so it cannot be created or destroyed. For instance, babies come from the womb in the sense that they are created, but energy is not created or destroyed. So in this sense, it doesn't come from anywhere. The ether could still contain energy. An AC generator converts mechanical energy, torque, to electrical energy. This is often done by rotating a coil in a magnetic field, or a stator. Faraday's law of induction describes how a change in magnetic flux over time can create a current. Yeah, F equals V cross B, Q times V cross B. Rotating the coil leads to an alternating current. The AC generator converts energy, but technically does not create energy. The energy conversion process leads to a production of electrical energy. That's right. So, and then electrical energy is measured in something called electron volts. So you take the electric charge times a voltage, and you get energy, electron volts, which is energy. How is the question number 2 from Ashton? How is the military able to transmit power at a distance with extremely high efficiency when energy drops off by the inverse square law? It's not clear to me what branch of the military has done this. Zohuri, in his textbook Scalar Waves, claims that the Navy has done this, but the book didn't focus on a single theory or describe the setup in much detail. Right. So there's many ways to qualitatively explain how something might occur. Most simply, a light bulb sends light in all directions. Things with spherical emissions, such as the electric field from a charged point at rest, have a 1 over r squared law because the surface area of a sphere is proportional to 1 over r squared. So it could be possible to send a direct beam of energy. This would bypass the 1 over r squared law. For instance, you might have played with a laser, which is different than a light bulb, has collimated light. I'm sure the military has played with high-powered lasers for energy transmission, but I suspect this is not what you're referring to. I don't know what he's referring to there. There is a whole a DARPA video on Power Everywhere, it's called. If you look up DARPA Power Everywhere, they have like a whole thing where they're projecting on that this is something they should do. There's no evidence that I'm aware of that this is something they have or actively do, especially not with scalar waves. I've experimentally not seen that. Often when you have lines, transmission lines are able to, transmit electrical power over long distances without losing transmission quality and power through something called impedance matching on the line. And there's ways to, with the dash pots, to do impedance matching. In fact, Ashton covered this when he showed the John Shive video and was doing the Shive wave demonstration stuff. That was actually covered in the John Shive stuff. But anyways, back to the letter. I've sometimes described scalar waves as signals encrypted in the quantum vacuum that can be decrypted by the appropriate receiver, but that's just a qualitative idea in English, so it isn't very precise. You mentioned Bearden's perspective. Okay, fine. Ultimately, I can't answer this question perfectly because I don't know precisely what you're referencing. For instance, a laser can transmit energy without the 1 over r squared drop off, but I don't think that's what you're referring to. Yeah, so again, it's very important in the science to be very precise and clear. What is the nature of gravity, inertia, and mass? This is an open-ended question since nature is complex and has many satisfactory levels of explanation. Our current understanding is that the mass is rest energy. For instance, the proton contains a large mass contribution from quantum fluctuations of virtual gluons. The Higgs-Yukawa terms between the Higgs scalar and fermions leads to masses of the quarks and charged leptons. So that's the charges of the electron, right? I like to think the Higgs also gives mass to neutrinos, but we don't actually know how neutrinos get mass. Interesting. I don't think the question, what is the nature of gravity, has a single intuitive answer. For instance, general relativity says gravity is described by curvature of spacetime. Metric teleparallelism says gravity is described by torsion of spacetime. These two different theories have different intuitive descriptions of what is gravity, but they both predict the same results. Experiment cannot distinguish between general relativity and metric teleparallelism. Perhaps non-scientists can understand that life can have many valid perspectives. Recently, physicists have been realizing that general relativity allows for many different descriptions that lead to the same results. This is a kind of progress in theoretical physics that is difficult to communicate to the public. Essentially, solutions of many interesting theories in physics are all related, such as general relativity, Yang-Mills theory for the Standard Model, and Born-Infield electrodynamics for electrodynamics above the Schwinger limit. This realization has allowed for progress in finding new solutions of quantum gravity. It also allowed for new ways to re-express general relativity, which leads to a much different intuitive picture, yet still leads to the same mathematical results. Many physicists, such as Nima Arkani Hamed, are now questioning if there is a single, unique, or best view on the nature of reality. Many physicists focus on finding a description of nature that is helpful for their goals or interests. Progress is occurring, but the headlines discussed are often similar to bad news or clickbait. There's a lot of hype. It takes time to have new ideas gain consensus and be communicated. I personally think that non-metricity is an important key to gravity that is often overlooked. Regarding inertia, most would refer to Einstein's equivalence principle. While this seems to be approximately true, a few scientists are skeptical that inertial mass and the same as gravitational mass, as stated by the equivalence principle. If the nature of inertia turns out to be more complicated than what Einstein thought, I would suggest that more aspects of exotic differential geometry should be explored. Non-metricity can change the length of vectors, and mass can be seen as the length of the momentum vector, so it's plausible that there could be two different manifolds that allow for the description of inertial mass versus gravitational mass. And I've been developing new forms of differential geometry for more exotic theories of gravity, but haven't published much on this topic. Well, there you go. I mean, this is he did a great job of putting this detailed response together with some scientists that we can look up. I want to go check out that last guy he mentioned, Nima Arkani Hamed. I'm going to post that in the chat so people can get the spelling right on that name. Let's look up what Nima Arkani Hamed, American-Canadian theoretical physicist. Interesting. Yeah, so these are the kind of guys that we want to talk to and we want to convince of our Tom Bearden stuff. And if we will, we can talk on this level, then we're going to get somewhere, and we're actually going to, change science and convince people and make revolutionary breakthroughs. And if not, then you're going to be the cargo cult people saying that you got to convert cow's blood to run the oh, where is that? I gotta play that, man. I gotta play that next. Where's the Travis Taylor one? Well, all right, let's get back into this. Okay. 8 questions, and we're only, that was only number 3. Oh my God. All right. Well, these go a little faster. How did the universe expand faster than the speed of light? What is dark energy and what is dark matter? Should I read all these, guys? Do you guys want me to dig into this all? Or should I Space-time can expand, which makes it harder for information to travel across the universe. Most likely a chaotic event caused by the visible universe to expand faster than the speed of light. This is not an issue with relativity because space-time is expanding this fast, not information traveling through space-time. General relativity can describe this kind of expansion. Dark energy can be modeled with a cosmological constant, but nobody on Earth knows for sure what it is precisely. Someone might have the right idea, but for more experimental data is required to validate or refute those ideas. I personally think that dark energy relates to a vacuum energy density associated with the gravitational Higgs mechanism, not the electroweak Higgs field, but something like a dilaton, which relates to gravitational non-metricity. Non-metricity allows for things like punctures in space-time, holes. Dark matter is essentially any matter that exists that does not interact with light. Nobody knows what dark matter is for sure, but there are lots of ideas. It's plausible that the axion is dark matter, which is associated with gravitational torsion. Torsion allows for space-time to be twisted. Line defects in space-time allow for torsion. I personally think that the Leech lattice and the monster group is somewhat related to dark matter. I co-authored a paper that has some details about 2,408 different degrees of freedom for dark matter. A dark matter researcher had galactic simulations suggesting that warm dark matter had roughly 2,000 independent degrees of freedom. Her excitement about our mathematics motivated us to publish a paper on the topic, even though I do not consider myself an expert in dark matter. If 2048 sounds like a lot, the standard model has 192 degrees of freedom, and we know there's more dark matter than visible matter. So it's not inconceivable. Even if this class of theories with the 2048 spinner for dark matter is wrong, it seems like it's often difficult to describe all dark matter experimental data with a single object. There could be multiple different objects that don't interact with photons. It's also not that surprising to me that dark matter could exist. There's no law of physics that states that all matter must have an electrical charge. So why does the ground state of a hydrogen atom doesn't radiate? Quantum mechanics proves nothing is ever at rest. Right. So why doesn't the ground state of a hydrogen atom radiate? That was Ashton's 5th question. Oh, I know. I'm sorry, man. I can't. It's like once I started, it's just going. Putting everyone to bed with this. Hal Puthoff has a different idea. He thinks that the ZPF is a classical stochastic background field in stochastic electrodynamics. While this does lead to classical description of stable hydrogen, the theory cannot describe quantum entanglement, which has experimental implications. For this reason, I prefer the quantum explanation over Puthoff's explanation. All right, so that's the Hal Puthoff stuff. This is good. I'm going to get Dave Chester on to really dig into all this stuff. I mean, this is a lot of background physics knowledge that you'd have to know a lot of this stuff. So what does non-metricity mean? Like a lot of this, you'll probably have to stop and type in and be like, oh, non-metricity. What does that mean? Non-metricity tensor. Okay, so this is a term in differential geometry. Well, again, this is advanced calculus stuff, so you really need some software to play around with this. If you're not sitting there crunching numbers, I don't know how you can just do this with anything but a computer these days. But it goes to show you that there's a lot that goes into this level of understanding of the physics. You want to start learning it and understanding it, this is where you got to go, man. You can't just say that, oh, Einstein's wrong, I'm going to go with Ken Wheeler because he skips over all this tensor calculus and real physics stuff. What do you need that stuff for? There are some physicists who have looked into Puthoff works. I have fairly balanced opinion of it. I think he has found some very interesting ideas that warrant for further research. However, there's not enough scientific work to overthrow quantum electrodynamics or general relativity based on stochastic electrodynamics or the polarizable vacuum model that he developed. Not discarding Puthoff's work, but I'm also considering alternatives that have more experimental support. That's right. We got a good theoretics team on this stuff working for us. How does superfluid helium never freeze if absolute zero is the lowest state of energy? The 0-point energy of superfluid helium is enough to cause it from forming a solid. Another way to say it is that the interatomic forces of helium are too weak to ball helium into a solid. If you wanted to find solid helium at absolute zero or around 1 Kelvin, then you could increase the pressure. Temperature is not the only variable in thermodynamic systems. Number 7, how can the ZPE be insignificant when the Casimir effect increases the power exponentially, and at microscopic scales, engineers have to be careful not to let two metal surfaces to get close or they get stuck together? Well, that's not Casimir effect, right? That's cold welding, right? All right, so the Casimir effect isn't very significant above many micrometers. Most engineers don't have to worry about this, but nanotechnology may have to take this into consideration in certain instances. It depends. The Casimir effect can be significant for some things, mostly below 1 to 10 micrometers or so at the nanometer scale. The geometry of the conductors is also important. A sphere on a plate has a much weaker Casimir force than two plates. However, it's relatively challenging for experimentalists to get two conducting plates to be very close and perfectly parallel. For this reason, I've been told that many experiments have used a conducting sphere on a plate because it's much easier to do the experiment. It was a bit disappointing when I heard this. I would like to think that it would be nice to work hard enough to measure a stronger Casimir force, but I've never attempted the experiment and don't know how difficult it actually is. It does sound difficult. How do you perfectly align two parallel plates so that they are always attracting each other as you set up the experiment? Yeah, it's a challenging one to do. Fun fact, it's also possible to have Casimir forces that lead to repulsion. In conclusion, I don't think that it's accurate to claim that ZPE is completely insignificant. However, there are challenges with taking the ZPE and using it for energy, because the ZPE represents the ground state of the quantum fields. It's very similar to why hydrogen does not radiate. It's just as hard to get hydrogen in the ground state to radiate photons. It is hard to extract ZPE and use this energy directly for engineering applications. So finally, number 8. Why does negative energy exist in the math if it's an exotic substance? So historically, quantum field theories lead to fields with negative energy states, which was puzzling to many. Along the way, Dirac attempted to describe the electron and proton, and this turned out to be incorrect. Instead, the Dirac spinner was realized to contain a negative energy state and the same mass as the electron. The positron is the antimatter particle associated with the electron, which was experimentally detected eventually. In a sense, the positron is more exotic than the electron, as electrons are found everywhere in daily life, while our visible universe seems to not have any antimatter in comparison. I didn't answer why negative energy is in the math. Long story short, quantum fields mathematically allow for negative energy states because they are solutions of the equations. However, it is common to have physics equations that also have unphysical mathematical solutions. Correct. For antimatter, it turns out to be a physical solution associated with negative energy states. Feynman essentially didn't understand Wheeler's picture of the one electron universe, but took the idea of the positron to be moving backwards in time to obtain mathematical solutions that matched experimental results. In this matter, the positron can have positive energy moving forward in time, despite being associated with a negative energy state of a spinor field. If you have the time to read this, I hope that a small fraction of this information has been helpful in some way. Dave Chester, MIT, UCLA, physics consultant for Visionary Capital. There you have it, guys. We made it through, and we still have a lot of people still watching. So I'm glad. Thank you for everyone who bared through that. I see some people have joined from that StreamYard link, and I encourage you all to throw some links or information in the description about what you'd like to talk about before I can connect you. And anyone who's out there, again, who has information that I overlooked or thinks I should look into with regards to any of this weather modification technology, research, anything scientific that I should check out or really dig into, I'd like to see, and I had Todd on earlier, and while I agree with a lot of his assessments and engineering numbers, just a general assessment, I could be proven wrong, and I'd love to just dig into the science a little bit more with anyone who knows. But right now, I don't know how much I buy this Alex Jones, what he's doing with this weather modification stuff, and whether that's what I would put my boat on. So again, with the Ashton Forbes thing, I think that it's much more likely that that's plasma balls being generated in a type of invisibility cloaking technology. As I mentioned, mirage effect used to hide objects. You don't need to completely encase or enclose something and make it totally invisible. If you just make a hot enough projector on one side, you can get the light to bend around the object and get it to go invisible. And so it might be possible that these orbs are an active invisibility cloak technology, military space-based lasers that could produce these orbs. They circle for, and then they could make something go invisible. But as far as teleportation technology, the idea that they teleported MH370, I just would love to see proof of that technology demonstrated. We know that they have the laser spoofing, the Project Bluebeam technology. We know that they have the ability to use mirage effect with these laser-induced plasmas to make things invisible. I think it's much more, possible. But and again, I just don't know. It's it's a mystery what happened to MH370, those Freescale semiconductor scientists on board working on the smart dust and contact tracing technologies, and also the radar intercept and sort of jamming technologies for plane radar and whatnot. Super interesting, super curious if they were taken out as a message to China or any of these other things. I'm open to those types of options, open to those types of theories. I think we absolutely need a new investigation into MH370. I've heard mixed stories on the alleged whistleblower in that case. Don't know. I don't want to dig in too much into the MH370 thing. I really think at this point we need an official inquiry or investigation that really digs into the stuff beyond what me or you can do. But as far as the technology goes, I think I can comment on. There's a fact that no one's ever proven teleportation. No one's ever shown, warp drive or teleportation in the lab. We've shown a simulation of a warp drive model on a computer, but no one's actually built a physical warp drive, a real working warp drive. And making things turn invisible is not the same as warping them or doing warp drive, right? So, right. But anyways, I hope to God Ashton is legit and that he shows free energy to the world. Free energy would be awesome. That would save everything. Again, but I just want to say, be skeptical. There's a lot of scam artists out there. And the fact that he's promoting Ken Wheeler is just it's silly to think that this is someone who has better insights, and I don't know, maybe he does, but again, prove it, man. Like, Ken Wheeler's been caught like hoaxing and throwing out, he throws away science, throws away Einstein, and he's been caught like faking, and selling bull crap and being wrong about stuff that he said. He's, talks about spherical frequencies and the spherical harmonics, and he's really, man. I would love to get Ken Wheeler or any of these guys on. I'd love to get any of these guys on. I'm hoping that Ashton's legit, but again, he's newer to this stuff than I am, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong and that he can teach me something. But at the same time, I keep pointing him out things that he's gotten wrong or been wrong about, and trying to push him in the right direction. Because he does have a pretty big audience right now paying attention to this stuff, and God forbid any actual physicists tune in and listen to that stuff. I'd like his physics to be as strong as possible. And he's done pretty good. He did a pretty good job, a lot better than I thought he would, on Candace Owens, as far as describing the Dirac sea and some of these other quantum mechanics concepts and stuff. So he has learned a significant amount in the last year to be at that level, but he's still physics is a lifelong pursuit, and people can learn physics their whole life and we still don't understand it. It's an open field. So may the best man win, and thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support. Again, the super chats from Gina, $10, another $5 from Gina, so 15 total. This Dave Wigington, very similar to Ashton Jones. I'm going to check out Dave Wigington. I got all the names from the Alex Jones podcast here, and I'm going to dig into those scientists a little harder and see what I can't come up with and really find beyond the stuff we discussed today. But I mean, Yeah, the Denver Post, seeding article. That's cool. Yeah, they're spraying the silver iodide, and we talked about the silver iodide. I would like to, see some. We're going to dig into this a little bit deeper about, the actual how much silver iodide you need to spray into a cloud and what it actually does and under what conditions and where the actual data is on this, because it's super curious, but I just don't see how. I mean, you could maybe give it a little push, maybe help it out a little bit, but the weather is so big and powerful, man. It's so hard to imagine that we have that type of control or capability. What's the level of the capability? How far does the capability of the control go over storms? So that's something to be debated. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm always willing to be open to new information, and we all should be. But as far as some of the stuff goes, man, it's just a little far-fetched for the numbers and the science. And yeah, thanks. I just I try to go through everyone's questions. I hope we answered everything. And then again, if I find something in the next week, so I always do these streams, and then someone who knows someone will watch it, and then Andreas will put together a podcast and have some people on with a whole bunch of deep research into this stuff of all the hidden crap, and then I could be proven wrong that we got the proof that and lay it all out for me. But as far as what I saw so far with the stuff Alex Jones presented, it wasn't a very strong case scientifically. And I would appreciate it if everyone out there could dig. And if you know anyone out there who's an expert in this stuff, dig. Find me someone who's, truth is often stranger than fiction. Yeah, we did a bunch of I asked people to do that in the very beginning of the show, and we got a lot of the energetics levels back on the hurricanes. And just based on those numbers alone, that's the reason that I am skeptical of the capability of weather weapons and HARP and ice cube neutrino, phased array radar systems and all that stuff about the capabilities of those type of technologies for affecting weather systems, just based on the energetics argument alone. You're talking about things that are orders and orders of magnitude bigger than the maximum that we can pump out or create with our highest. Even if we're, it's literally a megaton bomb going off every 7 seconds. That's a lot of energy, man. So again, thank you all for watching. And if you got anyone that could come on and argue the science and convince a bunch of scientists, this is the channel to do it. And that's what we look to do. We look to assemble the best science and the best experts and subject matter experts on both sides of the argument and come to a more balanced and educated conclusion on controversial and often classified topics such as this. So thank you all for watching. Have a great night.